Good morning. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And we hope you enjoyed the length of that intro. Good morning, Melody.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
We just kind of got carried away there.
We were talking up a storm before we connected this morning.
You just blew it, because I wanted them to think we were just caught up in the song.
Okay.
You just blew it.
Well.
Oh, good grief. I have kind of a strange story here. It's she's a convicted cop killer, Asada Shakar. And she's getting paid $15,000 from North Carolina. She's a cop killer, and she received a check for over $15,000 from North Carolina County Court in early April for a land deal, according to Saturday's report. Asada Shakar, who is currently on the FBI's list of most wanted terrorists, received $15,351.39 from New Hanover County as compensation for a land deal with a private company. The court reportedly worked out the deal after the company contacted Shakur because she is one of the last living members of the Freeman family who owns land near Freeman Park in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. Shakur, also known as Joanne Shismard, I don't know how to pronounce that, Shismard, was convicted for the murder of a New Jersey state trooper and escaped prison in 1979 after receiving a life sentence in New Jersey State Prison. She later fled to Cuba after hiding underground for years. Shakur, grandmother of the rapper Tupac Shakur, was most recently in the news, if you remember, after she was honored at the Women's March, where they called her a sign of resistance and a female feminist figure who fought sexism within the movement which she worked in. It says a judge reportedly signed the court order on April the 3rd after the final sale was delayed for nearly 10 years because Shakur's whereabouts were unknown. So here she is. She's guilty of, it says she was found guilty of first-degree murder, assault and battery of a police officer, assault with a dangerous weapon, assault with intent to kill, illegal possession of a weapon, and armed robbery. And she was honored at the Women's March. And she has been awarded over $15,000 because her family owned the last land there, I guess, by that park. And they know where she is. She's in Cuba. And so they're mailing her a check. Life is good, isn't it, Melody?
Yes, it is.
Life is good if you're a criminal. Why are we all so worried about keeping the laws, huh?
Yeah, they need to back off Donald Trump then, you know.
Oh my gosh, isn't this just ridiculous? Now, when you go to prison, you kind of have to pay. So I'm surprised they didn't, what do they call it, take that money. Sequester is the wrong word, but I'm surprised they didn't take that $15,000 and keep it there at the state.
Well, I know it's just confirmation of just the insanity. I mean, it's in all areas of our lives, and you know, with an article like that, with information like that, it just confirms that. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason for anything anymore. It's just like anything goes, and you know, it just depends on who has the loudest voice wins. And I mean, it's all these special programs, and I mean, it's just. You know, again, it's the little ant's nest that is, you know, being stirred up. That you know, it's stupid.
You know, and it goes back to these women, these nasty women, that they would honor such a person at their march. She's a murderer. She carries weapons which they don't like, illegally, which they don't like. She does everything they don't like, but they honored her because she's a feminist and she was a resistant. Well, most criminals are resistant. They don't really want to be arrested and found and caught. And she's not a good guy. She's not a good gal. You don't want to. She's not one of those you want to take home to mother and dad.
No.
Anyway, she's over $15,000 richer now.
No, maybe she can buy a 50. Maybe she can buy a '54 Chevy down there in Cuba.
I was going to say maybe life is good in Cuba.
Yeah.
Maybe she's doing well. What you got?
Well, not a whole lot. I'm a financial person, so gold has a little pressure on it this morning. Silver's up by 5 cents today, and we're still carrying the $25 face value of brilliant uncirculated dimes at $330. It's a great little deal. I mean, the coins are beautiful. Sometimes I rate some of the coins AU only because of eye appeal, and when I say something's brilliant uncirculated, I want to make sure it's brilliant uncirculated. So. But beautiful coins and a great deal. I've been able to keep the price at this level, even though silver has gotten stronger, and that's how low some of these premiums are. That's able to offer to the listeners brilliant uncirculated coins at great prices. So give us a call at 800-375-4188. That's 1-800-375-4188. Make sure you visit our website at dgscoins.com, dgscoins.com. And I don't know, I know you watch a lot of Fox.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And, you can't help but bring this up today with Sean Hannity. Hannity. Being a part of a client of...
No, he wasn't a client. But go ahead.
Well, that's what he says. The other side, and the courts say he is a client. So, who do you believe? You have to be somewhere. So was he a client or was he a client? And are they saying he was a client because they needed him to be a client? Or, so I guess it depends on who you believe.
And Dershowitz came out and said, he just flat out told Hannity last night, he says, you should have said this long ago. You should have said that you had some dealings with Cohen. He said, well, Cohen never represented me, never. He was not my attorney. He said, I called him on advice. He said he was really good with real estate. He says, I don't do the stock market, I do real estate, and he was good with real estate, and we got advice back and forth. And so he says he wasn't a lawyer. He wasn't his lawyer. He has been a friend for years, but still, he should have said, I know this guy, he's a friend, and I have gone to him for advice. He should have said it up front, and of course, they should never have exposed his name or anybody else's.
So did Cohen come out and say he was a client?
No.
Well, let me finish. In order to protect, because this is the gossip, in order to protect the client privilege, because the theory behind this was, if Cohen doesn't have any clients other than Mr. Trump,
everything's fair game.
Everything is fair game, so he needed more clients. So he came out, and maybe because he talked to Hannity on real estate, he considered him a client. So, it's semantics, I guess, to some degree. And
isn't it all?
Yeah, I guess it is. But so how innocent is Hannity, or how innocent is Cohen?
Or does anybody have any innocence?
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't know the truth of it all. But at the same time, all those papers that they took should be held secret. Nobody, they should not be public, everybody that's talked to or consulted with, whether they were a client or whatever the case may be with this Cohen. You should have, that's like I'm going into the doctor and taking all of your information, but just because they don't like the doctor. And then, and saying, well, Melody or Beth Ann was treated for this back, and it's like, that's none of their business. And we know it's a witch hunt because of how they're acting, the way they're behaving. And it's, I don't know. If he was a client, big deal. What's the big deal if he was a client?
And that's true. But I don't know. To me, Cohen seems a little slimy.
Well, don't they all?
So, I mean...
So was Manafort.
Agreed. There's a lot of them. So when you have that type of... You have to question, if they're slimy, where does it go?
Yeah.
Where... I mean, what does this all involve?
And just
to push it under the rug and say it is a witch hunt and be done with it, I don't know at this point. I don't know. I mean, we certainly understand the other side. We understand that, I mean, I'm certainly not supporting them in any fashion.
No, I know you're not. And I'm not either. I mean...
Yeah, but when you have slime...
You got slickery all over, isn't it? Watch how you step. You could break an elbow. Well, the Stormy thing and James Comey, that is another side of this equation that is just pretty slimy. To put it, it's pretty slimy. I'm trying to figure out just exactly what is exactly Stormy Daniels suing the president for.
Well, I mean, I don't even follow Stormy Daniels. I mean, I think she's, just.
Well, it's worth it. They said they think their life is in danger. You saw them getting pushed around and all this in the crowd. I think most of that was reporters, but it says we have decided the risk is more than worth it, and we're going to see this conclusion whether it is next week, next month, next year, no matter how long it takes. We're not going away. And it's just like, please just go away.
Who knows?
Can we pay her again and she'll go away for another few years? I mean,
who knows? She might even be paid in order to create this disruption. This distraction.
I think that's what it meant. It's more than worth it.
Who knows who would be paying? It could be either side that could be paying her. If there are truly issues on President Trump's side, well, maybe, hey, Cohen paid her once, so maybe they're continuing to pay her to create this distraction, and that way everybody's focused on that and not everything else. Or it could be the other side to create these.
I was going to say, except that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense with the raid. That doesn't make any sense.
We don't know what they raided. What did they raid him for?
Well, they claim it was for this. It's what they claim. But we can't believe anything.
But I mean, also they said that he was over and did have meetings previously with So who knows?
I don't know. I know that I get disgusted with her and I get disgusted with Comey. And you know what? I was a little offended last night because somebody said that I don't know if you've heard some of what was in his book. I mean, it's talk about seventh grade-ish. Picking on the president for his tie, for his hands, for his hair, for his skin. And but they said something that I found offensive. They said Comey's brought himself down to 5'2". Now just wait a minute. That's not fair. Everybody who's 5'2". We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. You're listening to Power Talk with Beth and it.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them. Have you seen the Left Behind movies? Have you read the Left Behind fictional book series? Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. Because they see the world stage shaping to fulfill what they have been led to believe is sound biblical interpretation, a Left Behind rapture scenario, this false view of prophecy is reinforced in the mind, not only of its adherents, but also includes those who have been merely exposed to the specific media. Is it possible that false prophecy can be fulfilled? The rapture theories have always been in dispute. Pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib disputes have risen up in exclusively evangelical circles of recent history, so that when true believers don't suddenly disappear, this element will easily go by the wayside when all see a new Jewish temple begin to be built. Will this be part of the great delusion that will come upon the whole earth? It seems that this great prophetic delusion has already overcome practically the entire American evangelical and Christian world. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. To learn more, visit crosstheborder.org. That's CROSS, crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. I was a little upset with Melody because I made a funny going into the break and she didn't laugh. So I'm going to repeat the funny, and I expect to hear some laughter from everyone because it is funny. I was offended by the person who made the comment that Comey has brought himself down to a 5'2" frame. And I think I'm offended. We got the producer laughing. All right.
He stayed on the line with us, unbeknownst to us.
I wanted to hear that joke. He said, "What on earth?" You know, it was funnier the first time.
Knock,
and it's a lot better if you don't have to explain the joke.
Oh, okay.
I think everybody understands that I'm probably 5'2" or something like that. So anyway, I believe I stand taller than Comey. Anyway. All right, back to news. You ready to go back to news? Do you have something, or you want me to take it?
Yeah, let's get back to news so I can laugh.
Well, this really isn't funny. This is really kind of sad. It's another telltale sign of where we are in this. Well, let me start with something good. This is something good. We shouldn't be having to make this decision, but this is a good decision. And this is in Pennsylvania. And the Pennsylvania House has voted to ban abortions for the Down syndrome. It says a proposal to prohibit abortion in Pennsylvania when the sole reason is that the fetus has or may have Down syndrome passed the State House on Monday by a comfortable margin. The Republican majority chamber voted 139 to 56 to send the Senate a bill that supporters said would protect the vulnerable population. I think sometimes, oh my goodness, what if my parents, for some reason, didn't think I was good enough as an unborn child? You know, we kind of have come to that. We don't have any kind of respect for life or put any value on life. And we know that this is actually to abort a fetus or a child that is handicapped in whatever way. That's what Margaret Sanger was all about. Or if they were the wrong color, or if they were too many children. That's what Margaret Sanger was about with Planned Parenthood and abortion. Now, the other news that I have here, so I'm kind of concentrating on females today, not necessarily on purpose, but this is coming from female college athletes, and it says that they are forced to withstand a campaign of pressure to terminate pregnancies in order to stay in top condition, according to a piece in the Washington Examiner. One U.S. Olympic gold medalist, Sonia Richards-Ross, recently admitted to Sports Illustrated that she was pressured to have an abortion just ahead of the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, China. Richards-Ross claimed that she didn't know any female athletes who hadn't had an abortion to keep them in competition. Now I'm thinking, I guess she's married, I'm not sure. But I would think that these girls would take extra care not to get pregnant if they're an athlete and they're performing in competition. Now, when you're thinking about college athletes, if they are not married, you'd think again that there would be pressure on them to abstain from certain activities so that they did not get pregnant. But to just discard the baby because it's inconvenient and it's messing up with the sports. It says, through the Pregnant on Campus initiative, Students for Life America staff on student leaders have responded to dozens of complaints from pregnant students who were told to drop out of school, were dropped from or failed out of classes, or even lost financial aid. In many cases, SFLA staff had to explain to the students that the Title IX violation was so that they could then advocate for themselves, because Title IX coordinators were not providing them the correct information. Title IX is an amendment from 1972 that prohibits discrimination of the basis of sex in the education programs. So they're pregnant because they're female, so if they're forced to do things because they're pregnant because they're female, then that goes against this Amendment 9. Then I'm thinking, well, that's just crazy. But so we have Pennsylvania, which again, why are we even to that point? And here we're putting the pressure on these female athletes to abort children, whether they're married or single, to abort their babies so that they can continue to compete. Now, I would think, they ought to have certain stipulations when they get on board, sign on board to be an athlete, that they're not going to get pregnant and that they're going to, abide by certain rules and regulations, maybe no alcohol. Of course, we know how well that works with the boys in sports. And, to be a better athlete, you used to have certain things that you had to do or not do. But it's really sad that these girls are forced to do this, and of course a lot of people, well, they're not forced. Well, they pretty much are forced to do this, but you can always make a decision. You can always say no and walk away, and that part is true. And anyway, I think it's really sad what we've come to in this world, that we have no value on life or respect.
And we just see it everywhere.
Everywhere.
Just see it, people's... and again, we're constantly all of it's all the movies, the games. I mean, it's just takes. They're just so violent anymore, and it's. You're right, and we do have a caller. We have Joe in Arkansas calling us this morning. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Good morning. I've got somebody that I think you would really enjoy having as a guest on your radio show, and that's a woman named Jan Morgan. And she's running for governor of Arkansas. She's trying to get the primary nomination away from our current Rhino Republican governor, Asa Hutchinson. She's trying to knock him out in the primary and get the Republican nomination. And the election is May 22nd for the primary. And anyway, I went to a talk that she did last night. And her pushcard here lists her qualifications as award-winning broadcast journalist for 27 years, exposing waste, fraud, and abuse in government, Fox News political analyst, Fox Business gun rights analyst, Arkansas State Police and NRA certified firearms instructor, small business owner, served on the executive board of the Arkansas State Baptist Convention, and she's the owner of an indoor gun range, which she advertises in her political advertising as a Muslim-free zone, Muslim-free gun range. And so you can see she's not at all afraid of being politically incorrect. And when she gave her speech last night, she was all for lower taxes and less regulation on business and all the right things, it sounded to me. And I was particularly impressed when somebody asked her a question about the mass shootings, and she gave a very high figure, something way over 90% of the shooters, she said, were either on or just coming off of psychotropic drugs. So you can tell she's a real truther, I think. If she'll say something like that. It's not many people that'll really look into this business of how drugs are causing the people to go crazy and commit these mass shootings. So I was really impressed with her. And if you could interview her and get some people in Arkansas, maybe to hear more about her, I think you'd really enjoy that. What?
Did you happen to get a card with a number on it?
Yeah. Well, she hadn't got a telephone number on her card, but what's on her card is JanMorganForGovernor.com.
Okay.
Just like it sounds, spelled just like it sounds. So that's the only contact information on her card here. Okay.
All right, JanMorganForGovernor.com.
Mm-hmm.
Governor is spelled out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got it. See what we can do about that.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, we'll have to get her on here and get her on CSC Talk Radio, too.
Yeah,
see if we can't give that woman some help.
Yeah.
We could beat a rhino. He said that was in May. That is coming right up, so that'll be different.
It's not that far away.
Going back to women, until you take over here. Going back to women.
What do you mean until I take over? Go ahead. I'm listening.
You've got another story. You've got another story here. I'm just going to kind of continue with the women here. Keith Ellison, of course, we know who he is. He's a representative, and he's a Democrat. And he's saying women are dying because Democrats are losing elections. Now, we saw what the nasty women, and those are Democrats, I'm sorry, but they are, that they claim to be. I mean, that's not that I'm pointing it at them. That's what they claim to be. And the nasty women who started out, they honored this murderous woman. What was her name again? Asada Shakur. She murdered a cop. She was convicted of first-degree murder, assault, battery of a police officer, assault with a dangerous weapon, assault with intent to kill, illegal possession of weapon, and armed robbery. And the nasty Women's March honored her. Of course, this is the same one that the Women's March is the same women that defended back, what do they call it, Backpage, that was doing human trafficking. And yet, Ellison says women are dying because Democrats are not getting elected. The Representative Ellison made a plea to Democrat voters this week saying women are dying because we are losing elections. We don't have the right to lose a darn election. You know, he has a little more colorful language. We have to win. We have to win. The DNC vice chairman said at the event, adding the maternal mortality is rising in the states such as Texas and Missouri. And, of course, Claire McCaskill is up for re-election for senator here in the state of Missouri, and she's got a lot of people that are going against her, and I hope she loses this time. The Minnesota Democrat, a proponent of single-payer health care, was apparently talking about GOP efforts to chip away at Obamacare. Republicans in December eliminated the individual insurance mandate on popular part of the law. And, of course, they say, you know, the biggest worry that women have every morning they get up is whether somebody's going to pay for their health care, their birth control pills and that kind of thing.
Good grief.
It is, you know, it's so demeaning to women. And, of course, then Hillary gets up and says it's women who are married voted the way their husbands wanted them to vote, and instead of voting for her, you know, as they should have, because they were female and they should have voted for her. They were listening to their sons and their husbands and their brothers and their fathers instead of, because married women are weak, you know. They were just weak. Anyway, It is a mess.
What a bizarre world we live in.
I mean, is that not just all over the place with stories about women? I mean, it's just absolutely crazy how demeaning the Democrat Party or the liberal left, I don't care what party they're affiliated with, how demeaning they are to females. And yet they claim to be our defenders. Well, are you defending a female when you honor one that's a murderer, a thief, a murderer, convicted? It's just crazy.
And gets paid for it.
And gets paid for it.
And gets paid for it.
And then we take these young girls and we tell them that they're strong and they can do whatever they want. And we put them in and I'm not saying we put them there. They're athletes. They're, capable of making their own decisions, obviously. But then we tell them they have to have an abortion or they can't continue. And it just makes sense to me. If you're pregnant, you can't play basketball or do some of these other things farther into your term. You just can't do it. You can't be as good an athlete. Been down that road. I know you can't run as fast when you're pregnant. But anyway, it's just crazy. It's just absolute crazy that we have come down to this in this United States, because the liberal left have absolutely no love for liberty and no love for life in general, unless it's their own life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I am just going to change the topic a little bit. It's going to be brief, but today is tax day, the last day for you to have your taxes in. For those who pay, for those who pay. And I've been seeing a lot of articles about the tax reform, that the money that the people are saving from the tax reforms really are not going into the economy. They're really not spending it in retail or anything like that. And this article popped up 21 minutes ago to see who exactly is who exactly is truly being benefited. And, of course, Goldman Sachs reports a 26% surge in profits that's helped by taxes. Now, that irritates me. Hey, what do I know? Investment bank Goldman Sachs said today that its first quarter profits rose by 26%, helped by the lower tax bill and a surge in market volatility. The Wall Street Bank earned $2.83 billion, or almost $7 a share, compared to $2.26 billion, or $5.15 a share in the same period a year earlier. And so there you see who gets helped by the tax reform. That it's just one of them, but and we have a tendency to talk a lot about Goldman Sachs, as they are the biggest culprits in our banking disruptions that we've seen, and a great manipulator, and of course has a lot of influence at the White House, because you've had a lot of past Goldman Sachs employees that are now, and not just this administration, but other administrations as well. They play a very important part in keeping those stock markets high. And so again, they're looking to, and this just what's always cracks me up is all we hear is about deregulation of the banks. Well, if you're making a 26% profit, gee whiz. Do you need less regulation to get that 26% quarter profit to 50%? I mean, how much is, it penalizes a lot of these regulations that they're taking off on these banks and so forth, and chaining it around actually makes it more difficult for the smaller banks, but allows the bigger banks to walk away with less capital. And, she scared the heck out of me.
I once I found out she heard what you said, that it was tax day. That's what she
that wakes up
got her all upset.
And I can't. But if you take it away, I'll calm her down.
Okay, I'll take it away. I don't know where I'm going to take it, but I'll take it away. I want to add something to this Keith Ellison thing, and then we're going to get away from the women's thing, because here in the state of Missouri tonight, they're having a debate, and they've invited all the senators, all those candidates who are running for senator. Claire McCaskill has not accepted that, by the way. She's too above everybody to do that. But I am going to be a judge on that panel, and that's the first time I've ever done something like that, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm a little bit nervous about it. But the state of Missouri is actually doing this, and it's in a little local area. So it's something that several men there have decided that they wanted to do, several men and women. And so they're having a panel. They're going to have a little straw poll at the end. So I'm not really sure why us judges are there, because the straw poll is the one that's going to tell the truth. Anyway, it's going to be this evening in Hallsville, Missouri, at the fairgrounds there at the Lamone Building. I have an article here, and they talked about it a little bit last night on, as you said, I watch Fox News. I watch Fox News way too much, by the way, and I don't accept everybody what they say. The one thing I've been kind of curious about and happy about is how one particular host is questioning everything, and I like that rather than to just accept, like some of them, oh, yes, going into Syria is the best thing, we needed to do that, and he's saying why. He says he's questioning it. Why at both times in the year, with a year's difference, we said we're getting out, and within that same week they have a chemical attack on their own by their own. He says, I'm not understanding it. So anyway, then I watched Laura Ingram's last night, and they're a little bit concerned about a decision that Donald Trump is making. And I'm just going to throw this out there to Melody and the rest of you. What do you think? It says both advocates and opponents for legalized marijuana reacted with caution on Saturday to signs from the White House that growers in the U.S. states where the drug is permitted would be shielded from federal prosecution, saying it was too early to know the final impact. U.S. Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado announced on Friday that he had convinced U.S. President Donald Trump, a fellow Republican, to protect from federal interference those state laws that legalize marijuana for certain uses. It said last year, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who opposes marijuana use, rescinded a memo issued by Trump's Democratic predecessor, Barack Obama, that dialed back enforcement of the federal ban in states that legalize the drug. That decision unnerved the fast-growing U.S. marijuana industry, which has been legalized in more than a half of all the states. So certain use of marijuana has been legalized in more than half of the states. I would say about a little over more than 25, since there's 50 of us. And, of course, we know how well it's working out for Colorado. But I just wondered how everybody else feels about this. I only think this is actually fair. If the state has legalized it, then I don't really think within the state, and maybe I'm wrong, that the feds should go after those that are growing it. Somebody has to grow it if it's legalized, and if they're within that state, not outside that state, but if they're within that state. So I don't know. It's kind of a curious thing, and they were talking last night about how this would go against Donald Trump's core base because they're very conservative. And anyway, I didn't know how Melody thought of that or what the rest of you think of that. You can give us a call at 717-300-1218, 717-300-1218. I know that the libertarians that want everything to be legalized are probably jumping up and down for joy with that. Melody, are you there? I think she had to step out for that.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, fantastic. I just got back. Yes, I did have to step away. My apologies to the listeners.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. So you didn't hear what we were talking about. We were talking about the marijuana issue with President Donald Trump, and apparently all that he has really done thus far is he's making the Attorney General back off. I wonder if he's doing this just to give a little dig at him. But he's making him back off. The states that have legalized marijuana, he can't just rush in there and go after the growers and such. And within the states that are legalized, particularly it was mentioned by U.S. Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado. So a lot of people are wondering about the base of President Donald Trump because a lot of the conservatives don't want legalized marijuana across the board. And I know the libertarians do. And that was one thing they didn't like about President Donald Trump or the Attorney General, because he was going after the marijuana growers and the marijuana users and that kind of thing. But anyway, it's something to kind of keep an eye on, and he did this kind of I don't know that it was really silent, but, Stormy and Comey were the louder coverage for the weekend. So legalized marijuana, states that have legal marijuana, he's telling Attorney General to back off of the prosecution or going after those who are growing it. That's my understanding. So I thought maybe he's doing that just to slap Attorney General Sessions for not doing some of the other things he wants him to be doing.
Well, that might be true, and I think everybody knows my position, and I mean, you can debate it all day long, and I believe in medical marijuana. I think it's very important, yes, and so forth, and but I had one of the folks I work with, Rob West, we were talking about the marijuana in Colorado, and he says you're beginning to see signs where people are not showing up for work on time. They're beginning to have, and it's not a quote-unquote problem now, but you're beginning to see increases of more tardiness, lateness,
lack of ambition.
Lack of ambition, people just not coming to work, more absentee days, and they are beginning to relate that to the recreational use of marijuana. So, and I do believe that happens, and I believe they will have a problem in the near future.
But I do believe in medical. We're going into a break, and I wanted to make a comment on what you just said about the lack of ambition, and it was something that was a little awkward last night when Laura Ingram was making an interview with two different people. You're listening to Power Talks. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Crack up funny and a little bit of an awkward moment for her that she had to laugh. She was interviewing a gentleman, I don't remember their names, a gentleman that was speaking against the total legalization of marijuana, and she was interviewing a gentleman who was absolutely for 100% legalization of marijuana. And she proposes the question to the gentleman against it, and then she proposes the question to the gentleman for it. And there was an awkward, very slow to respond, and it was just it was so awkward that it became comical. And she kind of got onto him. She says, "We're on TV. You've got to respond a little bit quicker than that." She says she pretty much asked him if he was weeded out, if he was high, and he didn't answer yes or no. But it was a little awkward. She said it was a good interview by the time she was done, and I always think, well, really, is that what you thought that was? And she's going to have them both on her radio talk show. So if you're really interested, you might go and listen to that, except she's on during the time that CSC Talk Radio is on, so don't do that. But anyway, I thought it was kind of comical, and I felt for the awkwardness, because I have interviewed people that not necessarily were on marijuana, but you had to just kind of pull the answers out of them. You had to kind of pull them, and get them. This is the time to think about it. This is the time to answer the question. So that'll be curious tonight. You were away from the desk for just a few seconds as you were answering your doorbell, but I was talking about tonight's Senate debate here in the state of Missouri. It's put on by a local group over in Hallsville, Missouri area. I don't know if you remember where that is. It's it's over an hour away from me, and I'm going to be one of the judges on the panel. And they've never done anything like this before, and I've not done anything like this before. So they've invited all of the Senate candidates, all of them, and so Claire McCaskill has not accepted. She has not accepted that, but the Green Party is going to be represented. Some of the Democrats are going to be represented, and some of the Republicans and Independents that are running against Claire McCaskill. And we're really hoping that she gets beat this time, because she's not been good for Missouri. But anyway.
Few of them have been good for any of the states.
Well, that's true. I can't say that the Republican Roy Blunt's been good for Missouri either. I would like to see him voted out, but he's not up for re-election just yet. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of a slow news day, even though there's so much going on. I don't know if I could talk all day long about the weather, I could talk all day long about the financial markets and, the debt and everything like that, but they should tune into Financial Survival also to listen to that at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. But and we haven't had any. We want to thank Joe for calling in today, but maybe we should have an open mic for the next 10 minutes on TV.
Well, there's plenty to talk about. We've got plenty going on. It's I've got an article here, and this is actually out of Canada, but it is still something that we see going on in our own nation regarding law and law enforcement and the federal institutions. We see how they are arrogant and how they have ignored what Congress has demanded from them. Well, this is an 80-year extension on access to info request, and it's a requester to narrow access to info requests after being told he was to wait until 2098 for the documents. This is out of Canada. It's an Ottawa-based requester, Michael Dagg, receiving the extension letter for his access to information request. An accompanying email made clear the extension was, are you ready for this? The extension was for 29,200 days. Not 292,000, but 29,200 days. But even at that, the correct amount is 80 years. Believe it or not, 80-year extension. The federal institution has given itself an 80-year extension on presenting him with these documents. What do you reckon they're trying to hide in those documents?
Yeah, I wonder.
It's a request for information, and they are not doing it. And it's kind of like we have Neil. He's gonna rescue you. It's kind of like our Congress. Why isn't the Attorney General and those those in charge there? Why aren't they providing those documents? Let's go to Neil in Missouri. Neil, how are you today?
Oh, doing all right. First time this morning I've been able to wash my hands without having to break the ice off the water. Hopefully things aren't going to get that cold again. But now problem is mowing the grass.
Don't you love global warming? Don't you just love global warming?
Oh yeah, some of the coldest the record cold for this time of year, and but we've got global warming, right? Yeah, on this marijuana thing, it's a real simple issue. What God has given you, the government has no right to take away from you. So if you go in the courtroom, you quote Genesis 1:29, God hath given thee all the herbs of the field bearing seed for thy meat. Case closed. This prosecutor starts scrambling to make you any kind of deal possible to get you out of there so that, you can't come back and sue him for false arrest and imprisonment. Because that's a First Amendment violation. So, and this pot thing, I know all the Trump supporters I know have no problem with marijuana. None of them I know smoke the stuff or use the stuff, but they have no problem with it and with people using it. The conservatives you're talking about are the ones that are working for the drug companies.
Mm-hmm.
The drug companies are
there is a lot of that.
Absolutely opposed.
That's for sure.
The drug companies do not want pot on the market. They don't want people to have it because it eliminates, the 99% of their drugs.
Well, let me just play this devil's advocate. We're going to run out of time. I have a relative that did all this stuff, and he couldn't keep a job, wouldn't keep a job, pretty much ruined his life. And a lot of people now, since they have done those things, are on, they get government. The government takes care of them now. You and I that work, we're taking care of them now because they'd made some pretty poor decisions, and I understand those decisions are theirs to make. And I do agree with you to a certain point on what you're saying. But let's play the devil's advocate. Then these people make this poor decision, and we take care of them. So what's next in
the problem is not with the pot. The problem is with the welfare system. There shouldn't be a welfare system. There's nothing in the in the Constitution that allows the government to take over the welfare system from the churches.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That the whole welfare system just needs to be completely eliminated because fully 90% of what goes into that system goes into administrative costs. It doesn't go into helping the people that need the help. That's just the government sucking up more money and spending it on stupid stuff. That's just an excuse to tax the people is all that is, and just need to completely eliminate the welfare system. And if people have to sit on the street corner and beg, well, then that's their choice in life. If they want to beg and smoke the pot, but there's a lot of people I know, I've personally known over the years. I've watched them. They smoke that stuff, and it's like they're on meth. They get so revved up that they'll be up all night cleaning the house and stuff, because they can't slow down after they smoke it. It actually revs them up.
I need a clean house.
well, it depends on a person's body chemistry as to how they're going to react to it, see? So it's, some people it revs them up, some people it slows them down, but there's definitely medicinal the medicinal benefits are just incredible.
There are too. Yes, I do agree, and I know that they have proven it. And it's not smoking it. I think they have another form of it. And Melody, you maybe know more about this than I do. That they're using for children with epilepsy.
Why? Because what are you saying? Because I. Why would I know more about it than you?
Well. We got Neil to
I'm against the legalization of it,
but you're not against using it for medicinal purposes, and aren't there different forms for that? That's what I was asking because I thought you had studied that a little bit more, not necessarily used it.
No, I have not studied it. But like you, I know there's been various types of studies, and I don't know the proper way of using it in order to obtain the benefits when you're ill. But we've all seen arguments that
and I think we all know people who have ruined their lives with whether it's marijuana or the alcohol or other drugs. We've seen people just absolutely ruin their lives, and that's what my relative had done. He had started out with the marijuana, and then it grew to other things and alcohol, and like I said, he's never kept a job. He's 4 years younger than me, and he's being taken care of. So it's it's a sad thing, and you don't want people to be like that. But again, I think we hear music. Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It doesn't do that to everybody.
No, okay. But everybody I know has. But then I've lived a pretty sheltered life. We are out of time for today. We will be back tomorrow on. Okay. What's that?
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
All right. We are out of time. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, listener.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.